hello to everyone who is with us today, and welcome. Thank you for joining us on our digital session. And this is one of my firsts, but we have a first as well for yourself. So welcome, Harrison Fox, for coming and being here as a representation of what's happening in the space industry for some CEO kind of perspective. And so you'll be representing Paladin Space, the company you founded. Now, before we get into it, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. And one of those first things is that we're here to reach out to you guys all across Australia as our hope. Yet the lands we meet on is Ghana Yurta. And so we get a really awesome opportunity here at the Australian Space Discovery Centre to talk a bit about the connection that we have to the lands and the seas and also the skies and the riverways. And the skies is a big thing for us as well. Thinking a bit about the way that we're connected to that, and the passing of knowledge is a big thing that we refer to here at the Space Discovery Centre. So acknowledging those elders on the Ghana lands, past, present, and then the future generations emerging and carrying on that identity is really quite important. We also extend our respects to any elders of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander descent who are online with us today. So my name's Nico, I'm one of the space communicators at the Australian Space Discovery Centre here, and I'm assisted by Tegan, who'll be doing our producer work as well. So if you do have any questions for our chat today, submit them in the question and answers function. It's a top button across the top of buttons there within your view that you can see on the screen. And yeah, our last bit of housekeeping for today is that we'll be wrapping up by 2:45 Australian Central Standard Time. And we'll be stopping, but we can still have those questions come through and maybe answer them by email if we can't get to them all today. But yeah, on to starting with it all. So thank you again.
No problem.
And then our guest joining us again, Harrison. We'll have a bit of a catch up and talk in a similar format we've done before with these sessions. Look at a bit of your journey, some of your work, and well, I mean, a lot of work really, and then some advice you might think about. And then by the end of it, we'll branch out to the questions. So pretty well from there. I know Harrison's got some slides, so we'll go through that if you want to introduce yourself. And thanks again.
No problem. No, happy to be here. And I think it's the first time I've been on one of these, so I'm happy. And also we talked about work, but also life outside of work. So
good point.
Happy to talk a wee bit about both, to be honest, because I think what you do outside of work leads to what you end up doing in work. So yeah. A lot of the time, thinking of line even better, So what I'll do is I'll switch to the next slide. Hopefully you can all see this. Right, cool. So I guess before I talk a bit more about Paladin Space and how it all started, I guess it all kind of has to go back to the beginning. And the beginning for me was University of Glasgow, which I decided to chuck a wee image up there because I think it's important to realise that it's basically it's Hogwarts. It's a brilliant place. So I grew up in Scotland. I'm from Scotland myself. My dad's Australian, my mum's Irish. So that's why there's absolutely no way you can guess where my accent's from at any given time. But that's where I started. I did aerospace engineering. Loved it. And I sort of had this dream of being an astronaut, like most do. I think probably most do. But I had this problem that I can't see colour very well, which turns out is a bit of a deal breaker when you want to be an astronaut. So couldn't be an astronaut, but I figured the next best thing was to create technology that goes into space. And I thought, you know what, let's do the old coolest thing there is, which is rocket science. I thought, how cool to say you're a rocket scientist. So I went into this, I went across to San Diego over in California, not just because of the surfing, but also because they have a really great engineering school there. Ended up leading this team, there was about 10 of us in the end, to build, design and test a liquid rocket engine using our own self-made biofuel.
Wow.
I could probably spend the next hour talking just about that alone, but I absolutely loved it. You can see there was one of the successful test firings. We also had one that was not successful, but that was way cooler. Blew up big balls of flame. It even turned some of the sand that you see there in the Mojave Desert into glass. Really? So that was, we got into a lot of trouble for that, but it was great. But anyway, that was my dream. I always wanted to be like a rocket scientist. After that, I was like, cool, I'll focus on this. Wrote this paper detailing how we did the test, how we compared it to industry standard. Went back to Glasgow, presented it. And actually, turns out that they were more interested in space debris, and that'll bring me to Paladin soon. I will get there. But when I went back to university, I still had this astronaut dream, and I thought, well, maybe they'll be progressive and they'll let colourblind people in there eventually. So I did the whole Neil Armstrong thing, learned how to fly, I still love it. So when I go traveling for business conferences and things like that, if I can score a flight while I'm there, I'll do my best to. So that was me in Toronto
that's incredible.
A few months back, doing a flight there in one of those planes from a very rich investor that I met, and that was just me gliding in Australia not that long ago.
It's a little Cessna. What was the plane you took out? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was actually that one. I think is a Skyhawk. I can't remember. This was one of the ones that he bought, and he was just like, "Come see my plane. I'll pick you up at the airport." And I was like, "Which airport is it?" He's like, "Oh, it's on an island, so I'll have to meet you on the mainland, and I'll take you out on my boat." And I was like, "Ah, right, okay, a boat to your plane."
Yeah,
of course, yeah. It's incredible. I absolutely love it. But then on the right there is just a glider, which was the first time for me actually. I'm usually used to flying single engine turboprops.
Yeah, wow.
So that was definitely a new one. So absolutely love it, and that's kind of just, I think I like all these high adrenaline sports. On top of that, of course, in Scotland, being in Scotland, you've got to do hiking. You've got to get up there in the mountains.
Yeah, wow.
So I do find some time to be outside of work. I do also, get outdoors as much as I can, play guitar as much as I can. And most importantly, surfing. So I think that's going to be the next bit. Yeah, absolutely love it. So every conference I go to with Paladin Space, there always seems to be some opportunity for surfing. I think the investors are probably starting to cotton on. There's not a coincidence here. I promise you, it's just a coincidence. But anyway, absolutely love it. And now here we are, now the CEO of Paladin Space, building technology to remove space debris. And I think when I look back at my experiences and what I love most, I mean, you can even see it in the rocket project. I loved the idea of using sustainable fuel.
Yes, I heard you can feel that. That's pretty impressive.
Biofuel, using extracts from canola oil, of all things, which is wasted every day from chippies, like fish shops and stuff.
On that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Was that pretty new, looking at the biofuel? Like, that's something that I've hardly heard much of. We're talking, this is 2016, 17 in San Diego. So this is a while back now.
It was a while back. And back then it was a pretty interesting paper that we ended up making, because when I was writing this thing, the ISP, which is the specific impulse for the fuel, that's how you measure its efficiency.
Yes.
It was about 20%, 10% off the RP1 performance. Really? And RP1, the kerosene-based fuel that SpaceX uses, is the kind of gold standard, right? So if you're kind of coming close to that, you're obviously getting somewhere.
Definitely.
But so we'll see if maybe that goes there somewhere in the future. But
the kind of miles to get that product, we're saying canola, was it
canola oil?
Yeah, oil. Okay.
Yeah.
So to take it from that product as a waste product to something almost viable as a space traveling material was quite a journey, and within your cohort of students at San Diego, you could all build that idea together. That's impressive. It was really awesome.
It was really brilliant. We had a few scenarios that were probably not the safest. Like we had to put in a chemical agent to start splitting it into glycerin and into the fuel.
Oh, right.
And we had to siphon off the fuel from underneath the glycerin. So we were just creating the burning effect by sucking off the pipe and just hoping that biofuel got into our lungs. But everything went well. And I think honestly we could have really been onto something there. But in the rocket industry and the kind of propulsion industry at the moment, kerosene's quite cheap. So what's the alternative? There's not a big regulatory demand to start using biofuel. So maybe when that happens, then that will take off. But for the time being, say if you're SpaceX, why would you bother if you could just get some cheap kerosene for 10% more performance?
Yeah.
For me personally, of course, I always want sustainability to be a focus.
Definitely.
And I think that's kind of why I think I realized that when I was creating this technology for Paladin, that having its sustainability origin of the idea was such an important thing for me. I think anything I want to do, especially with Paladin, it has to be sustainable. And it's just not even, I love it from an ethical point of view, don't get me wrong. But it's also economical. When you're in space, you can't afford to be wasteful. It's just cheaper if you actually find ways to recycle and reuse.
It's an impressive one. It's also quite funny. From my background, it's hospitality and hotels. Remember in my last years of that, looking at the bigger scale of sustainability, and we looked at, let's look at the Fortune 500 companies. This is 2015, 2017 at that time there, and it was something silly like 20 to 30% of those companies in the Fortune 500s seek sustainability as their means of identity and doing business. And many of these companies, they have a longer term imprint in industry. So that's really interesting seeing, your life come through as a profession, and then also, we'll pick into more of that and see what makes you tick, because that's a big deal.
Yeah, I love it. I love nature. I love what we have here on Earth.
Yep.
And I want to preserve it. But the same thing should apply to space.
Certainly, yeah. The reason for why you do something being at a major core of it, and like you just highlighted, the viability of some of these products is incredible. It may be inconvenience to turn canola byproduct oils into a fuel. Why not? It's really quite clever. It just takes a few extra steps. Awesome.
Yeah, so the only last thing I'll kind of leave you guys with, there's definitely a message I want to get across at the end of this slide. But with my career journey, I started, as I said, at University of Glasgow. Did my master's, wanted to be an astronaut, did pilot training. That was actually the plane I learned to fly in there. It took me a while to find the image, but it was a Grob shooter. They're so light, you can actually, if you put a wee backpack on with a harness, you could probably walk along the runway and carry it.
Incredible.
Like as in tug it, not carry it.
I get you. No, you could
unless you're the mountain or something, the rock. And then when I was at university, I didn't really know, where it was best to start getting experience, so I just tried to do everything. I worked at an avionics company, building and repairing GPS radios, transponders, fixing the aircraft. Did that rocket project, as I said, but also I did an internship at Nissan, being an automotive engineer, which is completely different. Do you know what I mean? They're all completely different. But learned so much from each one of them that I would not have got at the other one, if that makes sense.
I hear, definitely.
Yeah, the avionics one was a small startup. The Nissan was like 8,000 people on the one site I worked at. So that's
incredible.
Different scale.
Yeah.
And then I worked for BAE Systems, which hopefully anyone's watching the show will know who they are, but they do pretty much everything under the sun for defense. But when starting the graduate scheme, leveraged that experience in trying to travel as much as I could. Different business units, different jets. Okay. Yeah, I have to say, they've been good to me. I don't miss defense, but I do think there were some valuable opportunities there that I was very fortunate to have received. So worked on all those 4 planes you see there. So Typhoon, the F-35, that's actually the Turkish air fighter in the top right.
Okay.
So I worked in Turkey for a little while, which was a time. It was very interesting. Yeah, super interesting experience. And then the bottom right there is a very elusive one. It's Tempest, Future Fighter, you name it. It's the future one that's going to come out in 2035. There's some very interesting tech on that one. So then anyway, I moved around a lot with BAE.
Yes.
It came back and I was kind of mostly just doing R&D, concepts, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I got this phone call to see if I wanted a job in Australia. And it's probably the easiest decision I've ever made, because I was living on my own lockdown in Preston, the north of England, not famously known for its good weather, and then get this phone call, and all of a sudden I'm in Adelaide 3 weeks later. So that was a very quick impulse decision, and then here I am now, the CEO of Paladin Space. So unfortunately I said goodbye to BAE after they flew me out very kindly, but very happy I did so. The real key message I wanted to get across from this, it's not like I'm talking about myself here, it's more the fact that what I did wasn't a traditional route to becoming a CEO of a space company, but that's my point. I think all the skills I learned from these different experiences translate to the space industry, except I don't have SpaceX written on there or More Space or any of those companies, but the skills I learned were vital into what I'm doing right now. And I think that's just one of the things I think is especially important in Australia, where there's less variety, there's less, I guess, opportunity to work in the space industry compared to the US or Europe. But you can make still some really good progress into being a really great space engineer or any profession within the space industry, not just engineering. So that's kind of one of the key things I wanted to get across from this slide here.
Yes, and from what I've learned a bit about your journey, it's not, this is only kind of the technical bit of what I know of where you've been, where you've learned. There's a lot of you talk a bit about these other, so you haven't talked about it today, but in some of the articles I've read a bit about Paladin Space and you yourself and your identity, there's been a bit of journey of networking with other people and other programs. There's a lot of other stuff that these slides don't capture. However, like you said, it's all been connecting to your journey as a CEO and a broad variety of different technical components, which is really big. I like that you threw the story of Nissan up there as well, because you inevitably want what you're working on now to be scalable. You want to be a product that can be adopted in many parts of the industry and around the world. And now you've got a great big companies like Nissan and BAE, and you see what it takes to scale an idea and how it is to rally the troops necessarily.
Yeah, the best and the worst of the small and the big.
Yes.
Like working at Trig Avionics startup, you've got all the chaos that comes with a startup.
Definitely. Yep.
But then you don't get burdened with processes that really slow down things like BAE.
Yep.
And so you get to see like both sides of the fence and learn kind of what best aspects to pull from them to make the best company.
And a good reminder of the who you knows as well as you get along.
Oh, hugely, yeah.
You've taken a set of knowledge and then you've been able to find ways of, okay, I could see myself doing this, and knowing different people, and now got you out to Australia, which is phenomenal, and many other places in between. I did a little looking at Glasgow University. I was really impressed. They actually have done a lot of work towards sustainability goals, and there was the Gallant program they did. Now this might have been after you'd left, but your university was ranked number 2 in the world for its contributions towards the sustainable development goals of some of these programs that look at sustainability and get people to think about it. Earlier on with that journey, if you can have much memory of what you've done in between since then, whilst at University of Glasgow, did you find it to be easy to express that identity, that sustainability is,
I think so. I mean,
more than just a job?
It's
a character of who you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, the great example of that is actually the whole idea that led to Paladin Space and technology of the debris removal. That wasn't an option for my thesis. I just proposed it myself, because after I talked to NASA and the European Space Agency, and they told me they were suffering from this problem with space debris. There was nothing on the market for small debris removal. Help us, provide a solution. We're not funded to do this. So when I went to University of Glasgow, I went back after that rocket project in San Diego, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yes.
It's not on your list of approved master's thesis topics, but I'm doing it. And they were like, brilliant. Okay, sounds good. So they supported me in this concept that they didn't know much about, but that's phenomenal. So I think in some ways they can be quite progressive when it comes to being sustainable. I mean, Scotland in general is just an incredibly progressive country, but in this scenario, they were just open to it, which was great. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Any quite useful relationships you can still look back on now that you still have, with the people that are teaching you, your lecturers, and also the people you're, butting heads with in ideas. You've been able to keep that network alive.
Actually, it was funny. Funny you say that, because it was only about 3 weeks ago I got this message out of the blue on LinkedIn of all places.
Yes.
From one of my old lecturers. He used to do my advanced control systems class, and I have a love-hate relationship with, and now this space company. I remembered you from university. I've been following and tracking your progress with Paladin. We'd love to chat and work together on a bid for an ESA contract, the European Space Agency.
Yes.
And we've now partnered with them on a contract for the European Space Agency. It's a bid, so we don't know if we've got it yet. But we've worked together on this, and that was because of the connection at uni. So I think that's a really good point you touched on there. I think in general, when you meet people, I would never have guessed back then that he would be relevant today doing what we're doing, but yes. So I think the trick is just don't go burning bridges with people. You just never know when you guys can sort of work together, and you just don't know who you're going to need at the right time. So so it's just really good, isn't it? Building those personal connections.
And I think if there's a bit of you can express a part of who you are, that makes certain elements cling a little greater. Like, okay, you've shown you've got a real technical mind and you love to dig out what makes things work. And then this lecturer said, oh, wow, I think you and I could meet on the same idea, but then also side of that, the sustainability bit.
Yes.
But this lecturer's realised maybe there's a need for that far greater. Well, that's a little bit of the journey. We can come back to that a bit more. Did you want to talk a little bit about Paladin Space now?
Absolutely.
A day in your life. What does that look
don't
like?
Get me started.
So I pulled. We'll go through it, and I'll pick on you as to the challenges that you've taken on. You've got some big jobs.
That's also another big one. I can talk all day about that too. For Paladin Space, I think the best way we can describe this is that we're building the world's best solution for space's most dangerous problem, which is space debris. Doesn't matter what company you are, if you operate in space, you are going to be, let's just say, inconvenienced by space debris. I mean, it doesn't have to be very big. They can be the size of this glass, but either way, they're going to take you out because they're moving about 10 times the speed of a bullet. When I did that thesis at Glasgow, 2 real key things stood out to me. Whatever this dream solution is for debris removal out there, it had to be able to be reusable. Straight up had to be. I mean, if it's not going to be reusable, you've got that economics issue of who's going to pay for a $20 million mission or a $10 million mission.
Yes.
To move one item, and there's 9,000 tons up there. So that's one of the first key takeaways I got. But then the other one I got was there was nothing out there for small debris removal. So that's where the kind of problem set came from, and I honed down on multiple different types of solutions. I investigated lasers, nets, harpoons. Harpoons are crazy, but an option.
Yes, yep.
Yeah. Anyway, and it landed on this idea, which is essentially a payload. I like to describe it like a Pac-Man or Wall-E, if you see the movie Wall-E in space.
Yes.
And it basically can munch up any kind of piece of debris that's getting thrown at it. So it could be very small, size of a ball bearing, even up to a shard that's pointy, and it could be spinning, it could be any material. But the idea is that when those items enter into this container, which by the way we call Triton, so that's our name of our payload.
Yep.
When anything enters, they do not escape. They are captured and secured and compacted, so that when the debris doors, the doors of the container open again, new items can come in and be compacted in a similar fashion. So the idea there is that if that's mounted to a spacecraft that can do its own RPO and basically drive around space to get to the debris, then this thing will take care of the rest. And once it's full, you then simply eject it off the platform, and you get to keep the platform in orbit, so the satellite stays up there to do whatever it wants to do. And our payload tumbles away into the Earth's atmosphere and burns up, and it's gone. But maybe in the future we'll deliver that to some in-orbit recycling stations. That would be the dream.
I reckon you got some thoughts looking longer down the track.
Oh God, I'm so excited for the future. Yeah.
Have a little robot up there welding pieces back together.
Yeah.
Furnacing it down to something totally malleable.
Yep.
That's incredible.
That's the future plan. Luckily there's some smart folks out there already working on that technology to recycle and forge in space.
Okay.
But they need the material from somewhere. And I figure if there's 9,000 tons of debris already up there, why not start there? To them. So, and as I said, sustainable, but also economical. If we can charge one company to remove debris, and then we charge the other company to receive the material, we're recycling, but we're also getting two revenue streams.
Yeah, very clever. Circular system.
Exactly.
Oh, well done.
So it's very, very exciting.
Brighton is what that product will be called.
That's right.
How big can we envision it? Or is there going to be multiple iterations to it?
So I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I think so. The answer to this is scalable, right? So I guess the horrible answer to the question. I know it means it could be anything, but I'll be totally honest with you, and I do think that anything above a meter by a meter by a meter, like a meter cubed, I think once we get anything bigger than that, you're probably going to want something like a robotic arm, something like that that's a bit more kind of space saving for those larger pieces of debris. But I do think this is the world's best solution for small debris. So when I say that, then at the moment our unit is about 300 millimeters cubed. And we're probably going to have the space grade version about 400 millimeters cubed.
Wow.
And that's the one we're going to be flying in 2027. Probably the one we'll use for those demonstrators. But we're not talking anything too large. I think some people think like a shipping container, but these things are a lot smaller.
That's down the track, isn't it?
It is,
That's the Albany, mechanic shop up there to take all the materials and scrap it together.
Exactly.
That was kind of why I really like on the website. You got some wonderful animations that depict it quite well. And I just think that people from outside, and I have only seriously been in the professional part of the space world in the last year or so, I didn't have much knowledge at all about the impact this problem has, the amount of debris that's up there, and you're capturing it and collecting it. That's got many challenges in its own right, and then how big you think about doing that would be quite interesting. So you've got a few different ways you'll get to go about it, and you may offer this as a service, I guess, or you may offer it as a product that can be attached onto new satellites. There's bound to be, some kind of bare minimums that we ask for sustainability. So I'm really excited to see which ways you look at that, because I was thinking of a company that I studied during my time at uni. It was massive office printers, and they were making these, hundreds of $1,000 printers, and they would plot them into offices, and then after 6 months, 12 months, they have something fail. And you'd have to get rid of that printer and buy essentially a whole new one. Anyway, they got out of the business of selling these as a product and more a service. You'd hire it, and then you could tinker and pull parts away. Had you thought the product that you would offer, would it be a service, or do you think maybe it would be a scalable product, but this is this is the payload you attach to future spacecraft missions. How have you best sort of highlighted the problem? Well, I mean, the problem is rancid. It's
more like the business model.
But it's like, like how can you tack onto that? And yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think the business, but without the business model, it's nowhere, right? You know, I think that's the distinguishing difference between what's technology and what's a product.
Yes.
Technology is something that works, I guess, but if it's not solving any kind of problem, it's nothing. No one would buy it. It's not a product. So to make it a product for us, what we're doing is, the service-based model is really interesting. We're looking at, imagine you own a really high value asset. It's a human crewed space station, and you're operating in a certain orbit. What we want to be able to do in the future is to say, we'll protect your orbit. We'll make sure that we're going to clear that path for you.
Yes.
It's up to us to figure out how we do this, which debris we choose to remove to clear your day. But you pay us a yearly fee, and we'll just make sure that remains clean.
Okay.
And the great thing is I can turn to Tegan here and say the same thing if she owns her own satellite. And we can start servicing multiple customers and charging a yearly fees to clear their orbits. So it's kind of like in the same way you hope that when you're driving to work in the morning, the road's going to be clean.
Yes.
Same thing. And that's our service-based model. But when we start conversations with investors and we start talking down like that, they're going to get a wee bit nervous, like, oh, that's going to be very far in the future. What are we going to do in the meantime? So the meantime is the product-based model, where we sell these as units initially to customers that already have these big spacecrafts that can do their own orbital maneuvers themselves. So that's how we'll start. We'll get our foot into the door, get ourselves into the market, get the technology validated, and get some revenue in. And then we'll look into trying to build our own spacecraft and eventually take on the whole market. You know, that's the idea. So baby steps. You know.
Yes. Because from layman's terms, this is a really open area that people are quite interested to talk about. We really think about care for the environment and you know, whether you make money from it or not, think about the generational wealth. You know, that your family thereafter get the wealth of what we've done to take care of the environment, which is really important. It's just quite exciting to think about what does that look like. And then the other part people might not realize, or I'm starting to appreciate, the amount of technical knowledge that comes into it, thinking about, okay, what kind of machine learning do we need to look at and identify these things, and that journey getting really clever. Has that been a lot of your own hard work? Could be able to network with other people and think about that, where you may have spin-offs with this tech, because it'll be some impressive data that you'll be able to capture. There's a lot of things you'll tackle this problem.
Oh goodness, I mean, probably worth starting by saying that our technology we're developing really has two kind of core streams. There's the robotic capture mechanism, and that's what I designed so we've got patent now for that, which is fantastic.
Wow.
But now what we also have is a computer vision system, and this computer vision system is a combination of work that was done with AI/ML, so the Australian Institute of Machine Learning, just behind us.
Yeah, definitely.
Just next door. So we've worked with them to develop some machine learning algorithm that can characterize the space debris, and that's really important, because I think before we go to capture anything, it's probably smart to figure out what actually is it. You know, is it what we think it is? Because there's always tracking data out there. We're never going to go up on a mission blind and hope that we come across it. Like, we'll know what we're coming after, but another validation to make sure, that's definitely not a spy satellite belonging to another country. That's a fragment. Great. What size is it? What spin rate is it? Figuring out those kind of details. That's what this algorithms do. So we're training that model, and finding the technical expertise for that is challenging. That's why we partnered with the university behind us. We're now looking, to be honest, we're always looking for more talent to join the team to carry that forward. We've got those two core streams, which is pretty cool. I designed the technology a while back, but the team I've got now, we've all built it. So they're really great. So
I've got a nice little question that ties in with it.
Yeah, cool.
Are there space law issues with collecting space debris, i.e. ownership of the debris? That's
very true.
Think about that at all.
God, it's so crazy. So space law, I think if I was not doing engineering, I would do space law, because it's super fascinating and it's super nascent. Like, it's so immature as a field. No one's really created too many laws for space. To answer your question, there probably is going to become space law issues with just randomly collecting someone else's debris. But fortunately, we're going after fragmented debris. So if you imagine you've got a satellite blows up into a million bits, there's a lot less restrictions and laws around fragmented debris. In fact, to give you an example, there's laws, regulations in place that say if you have a satellite and you operate it in orbit, at the end of its mission life, when it's done, you have to deorbit it within 5 years. Otherwise, you get a fine. Fantastic. There's no law to say what you need to do if it blows up. So it seems like a terrible loophole, because if you had a satellite and you wanted to avoid the fine, you'd be like, oh, it's probably easier just to let it break up than it is to deorbit it. Should we just do that? Yeah, okay, cool, because there's no laws against it. So there's a lot of work there to be done. I just think that at the moment we're lucky because there is nothing holding us back from collecting fragmented debris, but I think in the future those laws might develop. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's quite a lot we've been able to look at. I didn't know how I'd look at this for the future, because we can get back maybe to some advice in a little while. We've got a little bit of time. I was going to look at the future quickly, in the sense, public awareness is one big one I see that your job is, and my job as a space communicator, so the world around us knows. There's a little bit of work I've seen. You've been able to be a part of a venture catalyst program. I think it was the University of South Australia or the SA government put a bit of money towards this field of work you're doing. Looking at the future, do you think we need a bit more awareness from a kind of governing body or from these kind of research areas? Is that something that would see more companies like yours get networks or get more opportunity, more resources to tackle these problems? Where is there any challenges that you see for the future that
I do actually. I think there's probably a key point to make here. I think if anyone watching that's already in the space industry, then they'll probably resonate with what I'm about to say as well. But and I'll also caveat by saying the government's been very great to me. I've been very fortunate to have gone through, as I said, the ICC, which is the Innovation and Collaboration Centre.
That's right.
And that's over at UniSA.
Yes.
So we did our incubator program with them. That's when it just was a little idea, an idea for the technology, and started the company that is today. We're still based there. I love it there. I really do. The team there are amazing.
Incredible.
The facilities and everything else, and the mentoring. But from a government standpoint, when it comes to the space industry specifically, I think when I look into the future and I think of the challenges and the opportunities, I think the government need to have this longer vision of space that goes beyond just the individual term that they're currently in. I know that's very challenging to have, but to invest in an industry like space, it's unfortunately not something you'll see results in one term. So if you come in and be prime minister for one term, you're not going to, if you chuck in $100 million, you're not going to see 10x of that 100 million in the first couple of years. You're going to be able to see that in about 8 years. That's the kind of timeline. So unfortunately, it needs to be that kind of maintained vision throughout, regardless of politics. But that's obviously very tricky to achieve. So we'll see what happens. But I think the future is going to be very interesting. The industry is booming at a crazy rate.
Yes.
And I'm glad that Australia's getting stuck in. And we're doing our bit.
Likewise.
It's a lot of work to do, but I think we're hungry for it, and that's something that we're famous for.
It'll be interesting to see how the Australian, let's say, consumer person living here, whether Australian citizen or they're here visiting for work, it'll be interesting to see what happens in this workforce as well, as our agency, the space agency, try to put a bit more money into smaller businesses. Hopefully that encourages more employment through these small companies. Look at our statistics of Australia. I think it's maybe high 60s, 70% is employed by a small business. So it'd be great to see the space industry continue on. Like you said, many people may not realise, but the global industry for space was $340 billion valued in 2014, 2015, and now we look at it only 10 years later, it's $1 trillion industry. It's, like you just said, it's rapidly growing.
It's crazy.
And I think you've done a really impressive job with the networking and bringing together, what should we say, like-minded enthusiasts and people that are passionate towards this. And I don't know if it's always been useful, because you might get people that are an advocate and passionate, yet they might not have the technical know-how and the actual path going through that. And I talked a little bit about some of the things you've done with the Venture Catalyst. I only just mentioned it. I didn't talk about it, but for advice on maybe the networking component or the being able to connect with other people. And how's that been?
Fantastic.
Come right across the ocean.
Well, this is a good example, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I feel like I'm a good example of how great it is in South Australia, because I came across here not knowing anyone, had no family here, no mates, nothing. So when I came across, I had to get to meet your entire space industry from scratch. But to create your own space company without knowing anyone, that's that's crazy. But everyone here is so welcoming. They're fantastic. There's lots of events like space drinks and networking events at Stone and Chalk, which is again next door to here too. You guys are really in a good spot here. So there's lots of these kind of events where you go there a couple of times, you meet some people, and they're like glue. You know, they're the ones who hold everyone together. They introduce you to everyone. And within about a month or two, I felt like I knew most of the people here, like within the space industry at least. They're fantastic people, and I think networking is so key. Without that, I mean, I don't really know where I'd be, to be honest. I mean, even the engineers working on my team, I mean, one of them I hired because I met them at a rocketry event. I was talking about rockets and ended up bumping into them there. And I never went there to try and hire anyone, but I mean, it worked out, so it was great.
Phenomenal.
You just got to put yourself out there and be happy to try and meet new people. And
I think that's good words. Working in this team, really fortunate that we get a lot of crossover to the industry, and try and say to some of my co-workers and mates that are in uni, say, although you're not looking for a job actively now, put yourself out there, say g'day, and hopefully that although it seems a little bit laissez-faire, a bit kind of casual, at least you trying to connect with people and I guess in one way sell yourself, yet also get a feel for other people and where their interests lie. So that's really a positive result.
Exactly.
So there's another question that's popped up. We'll probably get to that in a bit. I think we could do some questions. Any other questions, Tegan? I've got this one here. This is an interesting one. What do you think about using lasers to move debris?
I was waiting for this question.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. So I obviously investigated lasers as part of my master's thesis. I evaluated all, like if I'm evaluating a harpoon, I'm going to be evaluating a laser. Do you know what I mean? So there was pretty much like a big broad spectrum. So lasers are a good one. So lasers is interesting. The problem with lasers really, there's two key problems with using lasers for this use case. If you're planning on using a laser in space to blast other debris, you've got the biggest issue, which is energy consumption.
Okay.
Lasers are famously are incredibly inefficient. I think even the best one in the world is like 17 or 18% efficient. And even then, you're pumping tons of power in as well. So in space, you're very limited on power, and you don't really want those high power assets up there. Otherwise, they've got risk of doing damage to other components. So that's probably the number one sort of key issue with lasers. The second issue you have, and this is coming back to the sustainability thing, is that for me, where's the fun in getting rid of the debris? I like the idea of capturing it, storing it, and using it. Instead of seeing it as junk, you'll never catch me saying junk, by the way. Famously, I'll never use the word to describe it. I see it more as a resource, and I see like those 9,000 tons up there. If you can capture all of that and you can give it to someone to recycle, retrieve it, maybe bring it back down to earth for research, so great by me. I ideally don't want to be wasting it. So with lasers, unfortunately, you don't really have that option. That's pretty much you're going to be vaporizing that stuff using ablating on one surface and using negative thrust. That brings me to the last wee bit about lasers. You could have a laser on the ground, and that's where you don't have that issue with energy because we've got an abundant source of energy down here. But then you run into other issues, which is going through the atmosphere diffracts the laser beam. You then run into issues with potentially hitting other moving targets, and as space gets more congested, the risk of that goes up. And then, of course, you've got the big old thing, which is using lasers in space is typically very frowned upon because you're using basically a weapon in space like that, and it's seen as a very serious threat, and it could escalate space-based warfare. So
that's a really good.
But it's a really good question. Whoever asked that.
I've got a little bit of time, so I'll probably. If you're happy to talk a little bit about, I guess, sustainability is more of that. That's an interesting one because it does, again, layman's term, when I talk to the public, there's a lot of fear for the amount of stuff that's created. We watch videos of these skyscraper tall rockets blast off up into space, and people think, what's that actually translate to? How much of it can be captured? So they're making space more sustainable, and we talk about a product and then also the service. making this as a commitment, though, this is more than just money at the bottom end. You know, when you think about a triple bottom line, you're now thinking about your profits, the people, and the planet. So you're trying to multiply. You got 3 different parties you're trying to keep in the balance. Thinking about that in the space industry, and then also as a business, how's that been? Have you found much incentives offered from a government or university perspective, or you know, we're looking quite entrepreneurially at a problem here and trying to find solutions? Any suggestion on what you've experienced or what you'd like to see in the future? Maybe a cohort of other sustainable businesses, and we, you know, give you a 90 or something. You know, like that's a way we can elevate this problem solving, especially when we look at it's not just for you to make money. You're looking at multiple instances.
Well, it's funny you use the word sustainable, because you can always look at that word another way, which is what I'm currently doing as a CEO. It's probably not sustainable, because I'm working myself like crazy hours every night, doing every job there is. You know, I am the HR liaison. I am this chief financial officer. I deal with legal work with the patents and the trademarking. I deal with business outreach to customers. I deal with investors. So on top of that, obviously, like managing a team and then offering advice on the technology and working on that too, because I like to consider myself quite a technical based founder. So it's funny when you talk about sustainability, because it's not just sustainability of the product, it's sustainability of the world around, of yourself personally. Anyway, my mum will be proud of hearing me say that out loud, but I think that's probably something that needs to be addressed. I think if you're going to keep going with a startup like this, you need to think about this. And I think the government has been pretty great with having government grants and things like that to help sponsor small companies, because then you can use those funds to hire other people and start delegating some of that workload. Personally, I love to see, and this is what I do a wee bit of time in doing, is I work with STEM-based schools, and I do talks to kids and to teachers. In fact, I did a 4-part workshop with the Department of Education just recently wrapped up with the teachers in South Australia, educating them on the space industry, how to train the future generation to have the right skills required to work in the industry.
That's very valuable.
Super valuable. I think like even the teachers are actually even more valuable to talk to than the kids, even because you talk to one class, it's one class. You talk to the teachers, you're getting them at the root, and they can affect millions.
And not that kind of thinking.
No, exactly. Who knows?
This is the thing that I'm hopefully you can remind other people that it's like compounding interest. You know, it may look like this over a month, yet if we get 36 months together, wow, look at where we've got. And that may be the thing. You know, we look at figures today on your website, you're talking about there's over 200,000 items within this class, and then another, you know, 3,000 inactive satellites. It can get pretty doomy and gloomy. I think if you look at your sustainability, keeping your health and well-being along, let's look at a longer term approach. You can definitely get to those goals.
Absolutely. But you can only do it working together. That's my point. I think like, got to be sustainable, but also sustainable in the sense that we need to be able to work together, achieve the same goals. So I'm looking forward to that. So as I said, like another shameless plug here, but we are hiring. So if anyone's in here and talking to networking, this is another great example of, well, hopefully this channel gets out there and someone might know someone else who is looking for a role in the space industry. So it all comes back really, which is great.
And the one thing I didn't touch on was a little bit of exposure you had to hospitality as a concierge. I think you know, looking at all parts of your journey, you know, that makes you highly empathetic and highly understanding of the urgency of time. So you know, I'm sure you could look back at any part of your journey and really delve into that. So I like the slide you gave again, how it talks about I did this and I was to this level, and then all of a sudden I'm on a different continent.
That's why it was zigzaggy.
It was good. It was good.
It deliberately
and ideally it reminds people to seek another high or another achievement, although it may not seem to directly correlate. It all
exactly. I love it because you were a concierge as well for a while.
So
I think like it's a great way to realize empathy, I think, as you said, and being kind to people, and like, and it's just great. You get to meet loads of people as well and get some crazy stories, but it's almost a form of networking in itself. I think there's a lot of transferable skills even from that. So
too right. Any other last questions? Wonderful. I think we'll end the event then. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for tuning in with us. That's all time we've had for today's session. So thank you for joining us and listening to our space guest, and for your questions as well. Thank you, Harrison Fox, for having the time to talk to you all as well. If you'd like to learn more about the space in Australia or how to become a space expert, please come to the Australian Space Discovery Centre, or you can visit us at space.gov.au if you can't make it in person. Thank you again, and thanks to Tegan for your help.
Cheers. See you later.